What is up, Copy Squad? It's your boy Kyle Milligan coming to you live from Delray Beach, Florida. And today I want to talk about the game of proof. The game of proof, death by 1,000 cuts. I laughed at my own stupid play on words. But basically, I heard this really cool expression recently about we'll kill him, or death by 1,000 cuts, or something like that. And I thought that's exactly how selling stuff works. The game of proof. When you want to sell something, it is death by 1,000 cuts. And I've got examples here right in front of my face where I was like, this makes a lot of sense. And I think it comes down to this idea that I don't think anyone holds this belief that, whoops, I'm moving my screen around, I didn't mean to. I don't think anyone specifically holds a belief that you can like put out one big piece of proof and sell anything. But I think maybe it's overlooked that the game of selling is death by 1,000 cuts. It isn't having like this one killer knockout blow that just like trumps everything and all of a sudden you're in there, right? You can't just say like you have like this one case study of someone making $10 gajillion and all of a sudden, boom, done. You did it. You're convinced. And what it is more of, in my personal experience as a copywriter who grossed $7.1 million in sales in 2018 and brought in over 51,000 new customers that year as well. Just stacking my cred there. That's one of my cuts. I just hit you with one, credibility builder. But what it really is, in my personal experience, is it is a game of you got to hit them over, like you got to repeat your promise, right? And I have a whole video on how to write body copy to sell something very well, but you have to repeat your promise fairly consistently, and then in between every time you repeat the promise, you have to keep slowly like chipping away, cut, and that comes in the form of proof. So how do you decide what proof to add, where it goes, like what sort of like context you need for that? Well, generally it starts and ends with like handling objections. I think a quick and easy way to try to figure out objections is use my big 4 emotions framework: new, easy, safe, and big. You can basically kind of layer down some why questions, like for instance, why should I care about this can be solved by it's new. So if you can prove that, all right, it's big, like it'll move the needle in your life. If you can prove that, if you can prove why should I use this, because it's safe, it's predictable, it's basically inevitable that you will win with this solution. And if you can prove that it's easy, like anybody can do it. If you can prove those things, right, those are all death by 1,000 cuts. And I just want to show you some examples of how we do this in financial copy. And this all just comes from, I was like fascinated by this this little phrase, death by 1,000 cuts. And I was like, dude, that is sales writing. So I'm going to pull up my screen. Let's see here, surface, screen, camera, and mic. That's that. Okay, can you hear me still? Yeah, all right, cool. And please do drop any questions you have about this in the comments while I'm on this. That I like the interaction and I like going a little bit more in depth. There are probably questions and objections that you have that I haven't considered, and if I can knock those out, that's very useful. Okay, so this promo is called the hottest IPO in history, and this has been running since February of 2018. So it's been running for over a year and some change, and I wrote this, and it's made a lot of money and brought in a lot of new customers. And I just kind of want to show you the way that I think part of it that made it successful is the very thing that my copy chief sort of like, I don't want to say criticized, but kind of criticized. It was like his feedback was like, dude, you really abuse quotes. He's like, you really hammer quotes probably too much. You probably need different forms of proof. But I want to show you how I think that was kind of part of what made this work, was this idea of quotes. And I don't really know the control F to the find function I could use to bring up quotes very quickly, but I think if we just scroll, we can find a lot of stuff said in here. So basically we say, it's quite possibly the fastest growing company ever. So I said that's a quote from Tech Magazine. Business Insider calls it the most valuable startup in the US and across the globe. Time Magazine called it. So it's just me just layering quotes. It's growing faster than this company, and that company, okay? Every single one of these is a little piece of proof for this claim, okay? It's a little piece of proof. None of them are huge. None of these are knockouts, right? None of these things change your whole worldview or change your whole life. This is death by 1,000 cuts. This is the first promo I ever wrote for Agora Financial, and it's been running as a control for over a year. So I try to reverse engineer, like I had beginner's luck, for sure. Like, things just lined up for me on this one, no doubt about it. And I had a great copy chief, and it was just all, I think everything kind of like the stars aligned. So my results may vary, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. But looking at it, one of the things that I abused to death was indeed quotes. On every page almost, you'll see like tons and tons of quotes. Like I even talk about good old Jeff Bezos here. He says if you had done this, then that would have happened. All right, so we keep moving down. People are getting rich. That's even better than Bitcoin. I have a lot of quotes in here. Maybe what I could do is I could just search for the quotations mark, huh? And it's no results. That was useless. Probably because it's looking for, I wonder if I do that. Nope. Yeah, if I type in quotes, it's going to look for an exact find. Okay, but anyway, one of the things that I did, here we go. One scientist says, I can say without reservation they built something big. Something big is happening, all right? Federalist says, it could dramatically change our society. BBC says, this project could change everything. This dude's investing, this dude's investing. This guy says, this is the fastest growing company we've ever seen. Not just the fastest we've invested in, the fastest we've ever seen. He said, here's another quote. How do I know that? My name's James Altucher. I'm famous. I know a bunch of famous people. And then I went on CNBC and did all this stuff. Now look, once I get through all these examples, I'm going to get right back to quotes, I'm sure. Well, now I'm still doing charts and whatnot. I think this would be a good time to switch promos in just a second here. But one of the things that I definitely hammered, these are still more. Time Magazine estimates it will be 10 times cheaper than operating your own vehicle. Okay, so yeah, but basically you can see I went to a bunch of, Joe at KPMG says, once the massive market begins, we expect significant turmoil. So in that one middle part there of the copy, I did have some other stuff that wasn't all quotes, or maybe I just glanced past them or overlooked them. But the point I want to show you is that I really do hammer down quotes in this promo quite a bit. And let's see. Here's some more quotes. Quote 1, quote 2, quote 3. Again, none of these things really do anything like flip your whole brain upside down. This is more like death by 1,000 cuts. So I'm going to go to another promo that I worked on. I worked on this one with Rob Braddock. He's actually now the copy chief at another company. He's no longer with Agora Financial. Bet you didn't know that. That's some breaking news. But, okay. So let's look at Trump bonus checks. This has been running since March of 2018. It's brought in tens of thousands of customers. This one's made a lot of money. So I just want to show you again the death by 1,000 cuts. Right, this is what proof is all about. Let me see if I got any comments really quick, and then I'm going to go right back to this. Here we go. No comments or questions yet. That's fine. If you got any, please drop them. I'd be happy to answer them. You only get one shot. But anyways, here's Trump bonus checks. We got this guy, Jack Hoffberg, collected 10,000. That's 8,000 a month. David McCleary collected 5,000. Mitchell Sanders collects 7,000. Okay, so then we talk a little bit, and then what do? We eventually explain what can happen, how it can work for you. And I want to try to find more dollar examples, because this is how we basically built this promo. I wonder if, see, I'm scared to do a search and just lose it. There it is. Here you go. Cliff Fletcher made $2,200. Richard King has changed my retirement strategy completely. Craig Daniels made $22. All right. So again, none of these things, like each of these matter. And there are other forms of proof. I'm just showing you the most prevalent. Like in Hottest IPO, I abused quotes. In Trump bonus checks, I abused these gains from people who have invested in this strategy. We dug this research up. This stuff isn't made up. People ask me that, like, how much do you make up? None of it. This is all research, why I stress research so much is that's such a huge part of it. So in this one, I think we built this promo on the back of these gains. I think this promo was built on the back of big quotes, right? And again, none of these quotes by themselves makes a world of difference. It is a classic death by 1,000 cuts strategy. So when you're building out your promo, you're building out your argument, basically you want to develop this whole premise of what your big promise is, right? And then you kind of want to figure out how is this new, how is it easy, how is it safe, and how is it big? And then you want to prove that. And as you prove it, you want to basically layer in, like I say, death by 1,000 cuts. We have tons of proof in both of these things that aren't quotes and aren't specifically gains, all right? And all of it's been like deep researched and backed up, but like I think that's kind of like the point that when I heard that phrase, and it was about war, or something I was watching, and someone was talking about, well, kill him by 1,000 cuts or death by 1,000 cuts. And I was like, that is how we write sales letters, baby. I have to do all this research, 60 pages worth of research documents, just finding all these examples and then using it to back up my claims. So that eventually, by the time you do reach the end of this 30-page sales letter, it's death by 1,000 cuts. By the time you reach the bottom, it's like undeniable. Like there's no way. Like I can't fail. Like it is a breakthrough thing that I've never heard of that I can only get here, right? It is so easy and simple that anybody can do it. It is so safe, it's so credible, and it's so predictable that it's basically inevitable that I will win with this. And it's going to make a big, big difference in my life virtually overnight. Once you can prove all that stuff, right? Death by 1,000 cuts, and they reach the bottom of that sales letter, they're going to be like, yep, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. At the very least, right? That's when they whip out the credit card and you make money. They at least decide to give it a shot. Generally, you want them to be a lot more enthusiastic than that, but that is basically how it goes, right? So if you want to have more information or are interested in how I do this, how I gather my proof, how I build my case, et cetera, I do have a product out that basically shows you my process. Right now, the product is in the beta phase, and I just call it The Process, right? And you can check it out at kylethewriter.com/process. I invite you to do so, and it'll give you like a behind-the-scenes look of me building an actual sales letter. I'd like to give you like a plain background where I can show you like a cool Word doc with some more information. But yeah, you go to kylethewriter.com/process. You get access to the order form and offer for the beta of the new thing that I am creating. Step-by-step walkthrough of how I do it, how I go from Dear Reader all the way to the end. It's like an over-the-shoulder, basically like shadowing me, virtually shadowing me for 6 hours as I go from start to finish on an actual sales letter. So I think a lot of value in that, obviously. And then let's see, is one of these it? The Process. Here we go. Okay, cool. So right now it's 60% off the full price. That's for the beta only. It's only open for 30 days, 5 days down. Well, I haven't updated this in a while. So basically, the offer closes on May 18th. So you definitely want to jump in if you can. kylethewriter.com/process. So that's it. That's death by 1,000 cuts, the burden of proof. The game of proof is death by 1,000 cuts. I hope you found this useful. Leave comments, questions, whatever you have in the comments thing below. Shoot me a thumbs up if you got anything out of this video. I hope you did. I think you did. I had like a revelation when I thought about that. I was like, wow, we built this in the back of 1,000 little quotes. That was hottest IPO. We built Trump bonus checks on the back of 1,000 little gain claims here and there, just peppered in nonstop from start to finish. All right. And again, it all requires a certain amount of understanding what your prospect wants, what kind of objections you have to tackle, getting around those, and knowing what you don't want to get around. I'm going to overcome them is probably a better word. You want to overcome those objections, but you have to have specific levels and amounts of proof in order to make that happen. So once you understand that process, once you internalize that process, you can sell by 1,000 cuts. And once you can make 1,000 cuts, you can sell pretty much any product. It has to be a good product. Usually it's just very difficult to sell a bad product, but get that process locked down. Internalize that process in your brain, and you can sell pretty much anything. For me, that process has brought in 2018, it brought in $7.1 million and 51,000 new customers, over 51,000 new customers. Please check out kylethewriter.com/process. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll check one last time for comments. Michael says, very useful. Thanks. Thanks so much, Michael. I appreciate you tuning in, my man. All right, that's it. That's all I got for today. Peace out, Copy Squad.